We are back. And, oh, Krishna, we are onto chapter 3. Chapter 3 is titled, Looking at the Cultural Background. And it's interesting. What has been done is that Shankaracharya, who was actually the great impersonalist, he has written a book called The Immortal Nectar of the Bhagavad Gita. No, Meditations on the Bhagavad Gita, in which he glorifies Bhagavad Gita and Lord Krishna. It's very interesting. He's the famous impersonalist, but actually he wasn't exactly an impersonalist, he was a devotee. Because it was his service, he had to preach impersonalism. So we have here his meditations on the Bhagavad Gita, and Srila Prabhupada has written purports. There are 9 verses, and Prabhupada has written purports. So we can maybe not read everything, but at least we can read some things from here. So the first verse begins, O Bhagavad Gita, through thy 18 chapters thou showerest upon man the immortal nectar of the wisdom of the Absolute. O blessed Gita, by thee, Lord Krishna himself enlightened Arjuna. Afterward, the ancient sage Vyasa included thee in the Mahabharata. O loving mother, destroyer of man's rebirth into the darkness of this mortal world, upon thee I meditate. So it's very beautiful. Prabhupada doesn't give a purport to that verse, but the next verse starts, salutations to thee, O Vyasadeva. Thou art of mighty intellect, and thine eyes are large as petals of the full-blown lotus. It was thee who brightened this lamp of wisdom, filling it with the oil of the Bhagavad Gita. So let's have a look. Srila Prabhupada comments. Shankaracharya was an impersonalist from the materialistic point of view, but he never denied the spiritual form known as Satchitananda Vigraha, or the eternal, all-blissful form of knowledge that existed before the material creation. Yes. And the 4th verse, which they call, I salute thee, O Krishna. I salute thee, O Krishna, O thou who art the refuge of ocean-born Lakshmi, and all who take shelter at thy lotus feet. Thou art indeed the wish-fulfilling tree for thy devotee. Salutations to thee, O Supreme Lord, for thou art the milker of the ambrosia of the Gita. Then in the purport, Prabhupada says a whole lot of things actually. It's a fairly extensive purport, but one thing he says is, only the fools and enemies of Krishna who cannot understand what Bhagavad Gita is, although they make commentaries on it. So they say, this is Prabhupada though, so they say, it is not the personal Krishna to whom we have to surrender ourselves utterly, but the unborn, beginningless, eternal, who speaks through Krishna. Then he glorifies, excuse me, glorifies the Upanishads. Are there some people there?
There's 28.
28?
28, yeah.
So now he glorifies the Upanishads. The Upanishads are like a herd of cows. Lord Krishna, the son of a cowherd, is their milker. Arjuna is the calf. The supreme nectar of the Gita is the milk. And the wise man of purified intellect is the drinker. And then he glorifies again Srila Vyasadeva. Oh no, Krishna, thou son of Vasudeva, destroyer of the demons Kamsa and Chanura, thou supreme bliss of Mother Devaki, O thou, Guru of the universe, teacher of the worlds, thee, O Krishna, I salute. So Prabhupada says, Shankara describes Krishna as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Does he mean thereby that he is worshipping an ordinary material man? He worships Krishna because he knows that Krishna's birth and activities are all supernatural. Then the next verse is called, of that terrifying river, of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, over which the Pandavas victoriously crossed. Bhishma and Drona were like the high banks, Jayadratha like the river's water, the king of Gandhara the blue water lily, Shalya the shark, Kripa the current, Karna the mighty waves, Ashvatthama and Vikarna the dreaded alligators, and Duryodhana the very whirlpool. But you, O Krishna, was the ferryman. So then, I think it's the 9th verse. May the spotless lotus of the Mahabharata, which grows on the water of the words of Vyas, and of which the Bhagavad Gita is the irresistibly sweet fragrance, and its tales of heroes, the full-blown petals, fully opened by the talk of Lord Hari, who destroys the sins of Kali Yuga, and on which daily light, the nectar-seeking souls, like so many bees swarming joyously, may this lotus of the Mahabharata bestow on us the highest good. And last one, it must be. Oh, it's not. Okay. So it's the second, salutations to Lord Krishna. Salutations to Lord Krishna, the embodiment of supreme bliss, by whose grace and compassion the dumb become eloquent and the lame scale mountains. Him I salute. So then, is it the last verse is salutations, yes, to that supreme shining one. So this is dedicated to Krishna. Whose glories are sung by the verses of the Vedas, of whom the singers of Samaveda sing, and of whose glories the Upanishads proclaim in full choir. To him, the supreme God, Krishna, be all salutations. Him we salute, him we salute, him we salute. So Prabhupada says, by recitation of the 9th verse, this last verse, of his meditation quoted from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Shankara has indicated that Lord Krishna is worshipable by one and all, including himself. So, okay, devotees, we now go on to the next section in the 3rd chapter, is titled The Scriptural Basis of Krishna Consciousness. And it's a little bit of a long story. What happens is, there's an article from the Los Angeles Times, which is referring to a professor at the University of California in Berkeley, which is like San Francisco, Professor Dr. J.F. Stahl. So that the Los Angeles Times has written an article in which Dr. Stahl is they're interviewing, looks like they're interviewing him. And he says, he's professor of philosophy and Near Eastern languages at UC Berkeley and an instructor in Indian philosophy. He believes the Krishna sect is an authentic Indian religion and that its adherents are sincere. He points out, however, that persons who turn away from Christianity, Mohammedanism, and Judaism have usually lost faith with the personal God of those religions and are looking for a mystical religion without absolutes. These people in the Krishna movement have turned to Hinduism, but curiously, it is a cult that is highly personalistic, Stahl said. They accept a personal God, Krishna, and Christianity has that. I feel that they've transferred some of their Christian background to a Hindu sect. He also feels that they spend too much time chanting to develop a philosophy. On these grounds, he and others on the faculty turned down the request to grant credit for an experimental course in Krishna consciousness in the university. So then Prabhupada wrote back to the newspaper. Yes. And Prabhupada, Prabhupada. I mean, it's quite long, actually. Prabhupada points out, I beg to point out, that the Hindu religion is perfectly based on the personal conception of God or Vishnu. The impersonal conception of God is a side issue, or one of the three features of God. Dr. J.F. Stahl's statement that the Krishna cult is a combination of Christian and Hindu religion, as if something manufactured by concoction, is not correct. If Christian, Mohammedan, or Buddhist religions are personal, that is quite welcome, but the Krishna religion has been personal from a time long, long ago when Christian, Mohammedan, and Buddhist religions had not yet come into existence. According to the Vedic conception, religion is basically made by the personal God as his laws. Religion cannot be manufactured by man or anyone except God, superior to man. Religion is the law of God only. So Prabhupada says, quite a bit, we won't read the whole thing, but then, would you believe, Dr. Stahl wrote back to Prabhupada. First, I know that devotion to Krishna is old, though definitely not as old as the Vedas, and has never been influenced by Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. I never referred to Buddhism in this connection. The differences between the personal and impersonal are relatively vague, but adopting this distinction for simplicity, I expressed surprise at seeing people who've grown up in a Western culture, which stresses the personal, take to an Indian cult, which does the same. I am less surprised when people who are dissatisfied with Western monotheism take to an Indian philosophy, which stresses an impersonal absolute. Second, I never expressed nor felt disgust at the chanting of the name of Krishna. I'm not only not irritated at it, like some people, but I rather like it. But it is an indisputable fact that the Bhagavad Gita, not to mention the Vedas, does not require such constant chanting. The Gita deals with quite different subjects, which I treat at some length in my courses on the philosophies of India. Are we still alive?
Yes.
Everyone's alive? Are you sure?
That's 29. Got it on.
Oh, okay. That's good, I guess. So Prabhupada wrote back that I thank you very much. Prabhupada appreciates that Professor Stahl rather likes the chanting. And Prabhupada says, this has given me much satisfaction. Prabhupada says, I'm sending you a copy of Back to Godhead number 28, in which you'll see that students at a program at Ohio State University liked this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, although all of them were neophytes to this cult of chanting. Actually, this chanting is very pleasing to the heart and is the best means of infusing spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness into the hearts of people in general. So Prabhupada goes on like this. This is the easiest process of spiritual realization and is recommended in the Vedas. In the Brihadaranyaka Purana, it is clearly stated that it is only chanting of the holy name of Hari, Krishna, that can save people from the problems of materialistic existence. And there's no other alternative in this age of Kali. But I'm surprised to see in the last paragraph of your letter you say, it is an indisputable fact that the Bhagavad Gita, not to mention the Vedas, does not require such constant chanting. I think that you have missed the following verse in the Bhagavad Gita. Yes. Apart from many other similar verses. Satatam kirta yanto mam yatantas chadradhavrata namas yantas chamam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. It's Bhagavad Gita 9:14. So Prabhupada explains that this means that they are always satatam, chanting, kirtayanta, my glories, and nitya yukta upasate, always worshipping me, Krishna. So I do not know how you can say indisputable. And if you want references from the Vedas, I can give you many. In the Vedas, the chief transcendental vibration, Omkar, is also Krishna. Pranava Omkar is the divine substance of the Vedas. Following the Vedas means chanting the Vedic mantras. Yes, because the Vedas, when we talk about the four Vedas, they are made up of mantras. The four Vedas, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva, they're different parts to the four Vedas, but the main part is the Samhitas, and they are mantras for elevation to heavenly planets. Following the Vedas means chanting the Vedic mantras. And no Vedic mantra is complete without Omkar. Om. And because Hare Krishna is also in the Vedas, and it starts Om. Om Hare Krishna, like that. Yes. In the Mandukya Upanishad, Omkar is stated to be the most auspicious sound representation of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed again in the Atharva Veda. Omkar is the sound representation of the Supreme Lord and is therefore the principal word in the Vedas. In this connection, the Supreme Lord Krishna says, Pranava Sarva Vedeshu, I am the syllable Om in all the Vedic mantras. Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 8. Yeah, those Vedic mantras, the strict Vedic, Rig, Sama, Yajur, Atharva Veda, the mantras there, they have to start with Om. If they don't, they're considered not valid. And you may remember, do you remember in the 8th canto, I'm just trying to wake you up actually. In the 8th canto is the story of Lord Vamana and Bali Maharaj and what's his name, the priest? Sukracharya. Suddenly understands, this little boy is Vishnu. And this is what he understood all. This little boy is Vishnu. And so he went, and so he's going to take everything away from Bali Maharaj, and then Bali Maharaj will not be able to support me and feed me and keep me. So, I have to stop Bali Maharaj from giving him anything. So he makes the point, you remember, that without saying Om at the beginning of a promise is not valid. Do you remember that? Yeah, he gives different arguments for not giving Lord Vamana what he's asked for. Bali says, but I promised him. And so now Shukracharya is trying to give arguments why, even though you promised, you don't have to keep your promise. And one thing is, before you give a promise, you have to say Om, and you didn't do that. So now you don't have to uphold your promise. How does that sound? Sounds like cheating, real cheating. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Prabhupada there is stressing the Vedic mantras, because Prabhupada had said, Satatam Kirtayantoman, chanting is advocated in Bhagavad Gita. This Dr. Stahl is saying it's not. It's not there. So, Prabhupada's refuting that. So he's giving all these different quotations and all this different evidence why chanting is important, and it is emphasized in the Vedas. Bhagavad Gita 15:15. What's Bhagavad Gita 15:15? Vedanta, Krid. Veda Vid. Eva Chaham. No. Vedanta Krid, Veda Vid, Eva Chaham. Right, so Prabhupada's saying the goal of Vedanta study is to know the Supreme Lord Krishna, because you have to say Om, and Om is Krishna. So therefore, the goal of Vedantic study is to know Krishna. And he gives more different quotes. And Narada Pancharatra says all Vedic rituals, mantras, and understanding are compressed into the 8 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Similarly, in Kali Santarana Upanishad, it's stated that the 16 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, are especially meant for counteracting the degrading influence of the age of Kali. And that's Upanishad, Kali Santarana Upanishad. That's Upanishad, and the Upanishads are connected with the 4 Vedas. Each part of the 4 Vedas has an Upanishad connected with it as a philosophical explanation. So therefore, the Upanishads are Vedic and not like post-Vedic or secondary to what is Vedic. Right, so Prabhupada says like that, and would you believe, Dr. Stahl replies. He's into it. Let's see. He says, in Bhagavad Gita 9:14, Kirtayanta need not mean chanting of the name of Krishna. It may mean glorifying, chanting, reciting, talking, and refers to songs, hymns, descriptions, or conversations. Yeah. But that's okay. Glorifying, chanting, reciting, talking, songs, hymns, descriptions, conversations, that's fine. But in that verse, what does Krishna say? Satatam kirtayanto mam. Whatever chanting or glorifying, reciting, it's all about me, Krishna. Yeah. Yes. Anyway, without getting too much into it, he's arguing back and forth with Prabhupada. And eventually Prabhupada says that we accept Lord Chaitanya. Well, actually Prabhupada says, regarding the Bhagavad Gita verse 9:14, kirtayanta certainly means glorifying, chanting, reciting, and talking, as you've said, but glorifying, chanting, or reciting about whom? It is certainly about Krishna. The word used in this connection is mam, me. Therefore, we do not disagree when a person glorifies Krishna, as Shukadev did in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is also kirtan. So anyway, can you believe it, devotees? Well, Prabhupada gives a really long letter. Dr. Stahl replies again. I'm afraid that whenever you quote a passage purporting to show that only the chanting of the name Krishna is required, I can quote another one which requires something else. So he's trying to exit from the discussion, and Prabhupada writes back that the scriptural quotations are sometimes contradictory, and every philosopher has a different opinion, because without putting forward a different thesis, no one can become a famous philosopher. It is therefore difficult to arrive at the right conclusion. The conclusion is, as above mentioned, to accept the judgment of authority. We follow the authority of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that's what we do. Yeah. So whereas Dr. Stahl doesn't accept any authority at all, just whatever verse appeals to him to try to establish his point. Prabhupada's saying we accept the authority of Lord Chaitanya, that the chanting of the holy names of the Lord is the only means to elevate one to the transcendental platform. Right. Then Prabhupada, the next section is Krishna consciousness, Hindu cult or divine culture. Prabhupada makes the point, we will not find the word Hindu in the Bhagavad Gita. Indeed, there's no such word as Hindu in the entire Vedic literature. This word has been introduced by the Muslims from provinces next to India, such as Afghanistan, Baluchistan, and Persia. There's a river called Sindhu, bordering the northwestern provinces of India, and since the Muslims there could not pronounce Sindhu properly, they instead called the river Hindu, and the inhabitants of this tract of land they called Hindus. In India, according to the Vedic language, the Europeans are called Mlechas or Yavanas. Similarly, Hindu is a name given by the Muslims. Yes, so Prabhupada explains that the philosophy of Krishna consciousness does not deny the existence of God and the demigods, but Mayavad philosophy denies both. It maintains that neither the demigods nor God exist. For the Mayavadis, ultimately all is zero. They say that you can imagine any authority, whether Vishnu, Durga, Lord Shiva, or the sun god. But the Mayavadis do not accept the existence of any of them. The Mayavadis say that because one cannot concentrate one's mind on the impersonal Brahman, one may imagine any of these forms. This is a new system called Panchapasana. It was introduced by Shankaracharya, but the Bhagavad Gita does not teach any such doctrines, and therefore they're not authoritative. Rather, Bhagavad Gita accepts the existence of demigods, but it rejects the worship of demigods. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavad Gita chapter 7, verse 7. Kamastaistaya ritagyana prapajantenya devata, tam tam niyamamastaya prakritya niyatasvaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Then in 244, Lord Krishna says, Bhogaishvarya prasaktanam taya parita chetasam vyavasayatmaka buddhi samado navadiyate. In the minds of those who are too attached to sense enjoyment and material opulence and who are bewildered by such things, the resolute determination for devotional service does not take place. Then Bhagavad Gita 7.23 says, 7.23? 7.23? Antavat? Antavat? Antavat tu palam tesham, tadbhavat yalpamedasam, devan deva yajo yanti madbhakta yanti mam api. Men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees reach my supreme abode. Yes. So, like this, Prabhupada's giving an explanation of what is Krishna consciousness basically, as opposed to impersonalism. So now, devotees, are we still alive? Are you alive?
Yeah.
Are you alive?
Yeah, 29.
29. Okay. You're really alive. Are you alive? Partially. Because when we drive back, you've got to be alive.
I'm already alive.
Okay. So the fourth section is called, or fourth chapter actually, Understanding Krishna and Christ. that's interesting. Were you in GK?
Yeah. I was sort of Christian.
Nederlands Gereformde Kerk.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, let's just see what are the sections. I think there's 3 sections. Let's see, what is it now? Understanding Krishna and Christ. 3 sections. First is Krishna or Christ. The name is the same. Second section, Christ, Christians and Krishna. And third section, thou shalt not kill. Okay, let's go through that. Yeah, let's go through that. None of you may, or some of you may just not know much about Christianity. I mean, not that I do. But I do have some experience. I went to church. At our school, we went to church every day. 12 years. 12 years of church every day, Monday to Friday. So this is now, Prabhupada is having a discussion with a monk from a Christian monastery. So the monk notices Prabhupada is chanting on Japamala, and the monk says that, oh, we also chant on beads, the rosary. And he says that he chants constantly the prayer, Lord Jesus Christ, be merciful unto us. So Prabhupada asks, Prabhupada, he would sometimes ask questions, but he knows the answer. But he's just trying to sort of turn the person on. Prabhupada said, what's the meaning of the word Christ? And Father Emmanuel says Christ comes from the Greek word Christos, meaning the anointed one. And Prabhupada says Christos is the Greek version of the word Krishna. See, Prabhupada, he's really. And Father Emmanuel says, oh, this is very interesting. And Prabhupada says, when an Indian person calls on Krishna, he often calls Krishta. Krishta is a Sanskrit word meaning attraction. So when we address God as Christ, Krishta or Krishna, we indicate the same all-attractive Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Jesus said, Our Father who art in heaven, sanctified be thy name, that name of God was Krishna or Krishna. Do you agree? Do you agree? As Prabhupada is asking. Do you agree? And Father, well, thank you. That's good. Father Emmanuel says, I think Jesus, as the Son of God, has revealed to us the actual name of God, Christ. We can call God Father, but if we want to address him by his actual name, we have to say Christ. Srila Prabhupada, yes, Christ is another way of saying Krishna or Krishna. Yeah. Of saying Krishna. And Krishna is another way of pronouncing Krishna, the name of God. Just like, in India, different parts of India, they pronounce Krishna differently, somewhat. Krishna in Bengal, Krishna. In other parts Krishna, Christian, different, depending on local sort of dialectical pronunciations. Yeah, different ways of saying the same thing. So, yes. Prabhupada says, Jesus said that one should glorify the name of God. But yesterday I heard one theologian say that God has no name, that we can call him only Father. A son may call his father, Father, but the Father also has a specific name. Similarly, God is the general name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose specific name is Krishna. Therefore, whether you call God Christ, Krishna, or Krishna, ultimately you're addressing the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. Father Emmanuel, yes, if we speak of God's actual name, then we must say Christos. Yeah. And then Prabhupada says, actually it doesn't matter. Krishna or Christ, the name is the same. The main point is to follow the injunctions of the Vedic scriptures that recommend chanting the name of God in this age. The easiest way is to chant the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama and Krishna are names of God, and Hare is the energy of God. So when we chant the Mahamantra, we address God together with his energy. Prabhupada doesn't really get into it here, but in other places Prabhupada gets into the use of the term Bhagavan and the name Krishna, or the word God. Like in Bhagavad Gita, you may have noticed, is Krishna Arjuna, they're conversing back and forth. But whenever Krishna is going to speak, Arjuna said something, now Krishna is going to respond. It always says, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. It never says, there's not one occasion in Bhagavad Gita where it says Sri Krishna Uvacha. Not once. Sri Krishna Uvacha. Every time it's Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. Because Bhagavan, just like there's God, this word God, it's just like a general descriptive term, but the actual name of the person, like Prime Minister, President, it's a title which recognizes the position of someone. So God is like that. The term God is actually a German word. And Bhagavan is similar, because Bhagavan, Bhaga means opulences, and Van means the possessor, one who possesses. So Bhagavan means one who possesses all opulences. That's God, that's the supreme absolute truth. But his name, of course, he has many names, but the main name is Krishna, and it's a personal name. It's not just like a title, like President or Prime Minister or God. It's a title. Yeah. Like our friend Krishna from Kinross. I met one boy named Krishna. One boy in Mauritius a few years ago. I asked him, what's your name? He said, Krishna. I said, really? I've been looking for you for years. And unfortunately, he was not the right Krishna. He was another one. So Prabhupada, Prabhupada's very expert at dealing with people's attempts to make a point to try to defeat him. And that's what Prabhupada's doing here. Every time he's bringing it back to Christos. And this term Christos in Greek translates as Krishna. And Krishna is a form of the name Krishna. So Prabhupada, gives a fairly lengthy description here that we're caught in the material world. So therefore we pray to Krishna to deliver us from the material world. Prabhupada says that's a whole philosophy. Hare Krishna means, O energy of God. O God, Krishna, please engage me in your service. Yes. And Prabhupada makes the point that in order to practice Krishna consciousness, you have to become free from designations like Hindu, Muslim, Christian, this or that, because we, means people, have created Christian, Hindu, and Mohammedan religions. But when we come to a religion without designations, where we don't think that we're Hindu or Christian or Mohammedan, then we speak of pure religion or bhakti or Krishna consciousness. And Father Emmanuel says mukti. Prabhupada says no, bhakti. When we speak of bhakti, then mukti, or liberation from material misery, is included. Without bhakti, there's no mukti. But if we act on the platform of bhakti, then mukti is always included. Yes. So, yes. Mam chiyo vyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatityaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who doesn't fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. And Father Emmanuel asks, is Brahman Krishna? And Prabhupada says, Krishna is Para-Brahman, the Supreme Spirit. Yes. So, right. Prabhupada quotes Bhagavatam 1-11, Vedanti tat tadvavidas, Tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. Learned transcendentalists who know the absolute truth call this non-dual substance Brahman, Paramatma, or Bhagavan. The feature of the Supreme Personality is the ultimate realization of God. He has all six opulences in full. He's the strongest, the richest, the most beautiful, the most famous, the wisest, and the most renounced. And Father Emmanuel says, yes, I agree. He's making progress, Father Emmanuel. Yeah. So, because God, Prabhupada says, because God is absolute, His name, His form, and His qualities are also absolute, and they are not different from Him. Therefore, to chant God's holy name means to associate directly with him. When one associates with God, one acquires godly qualities. And when one is completely purified, one becomes an associate of the Supreme Lord. And Father Emmanuel says, but our understanding of the name of God is limited. Yes. Prabhupada, yes, we are limited, but God is unlimited. And because he's unlimited or absolute, he has unlimited names, each of which is God. We can understand his names as much as our spiritual understanding is developed. It's really amazing how Prabhupada's developing the presentation. The man, as Father Emmanuel's trying to say, that we believe that the name of God is Christ. And Prabhupada answers, yes. Doesn't say no, he says yes. But the thing is, God is unlimited, so he has unlimited names. So just to say that he just has one name, that's short-sighted, very short-sighted. Indeed. Yes. So like this, Prabhupada is sort of working his way around this person's arguments. Yeah. So Prabhupada says, all over the world, people love not God, but their dogs. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore necessary to teach people how to revive their forgotten love for God. Not only the Christians, but also the Hindus, the Mohammedans, and all others are guilty. They have rubber-stamped themselves Christian, Hindu, or Mohammedan, but they do not obey God. That is the problem. So, another person walks in. Can you say in what way the Christians are disobedient? And Prabhupada says, yes. The first point is they violate the commandment, thou shalt not kill, by maintaining slaughterhouses. Do you agree that this commandment is being violated? Father Emmanuel, personally, I agree. So Prabhupada, good. So if the Christians want to love God, they must stop killing animals. And Father Emmanuel says, but isn't the most important point, Prabhupada interrupts him, if you miss one point, there's a mistake in your calculation. It's a very important point. If you're doing some mathematical calculation of some sort, complex, but at the beginning or somewhere in the very early stage, you say 2 plus 2 equals 3. Then everything that comes after that will be incorrect. Yeah, it'll be faulty. And then the final conclusion will be. So, what the Christians try to do when we bring up this point is they say, okay, well, that's an interesting point, but, there's another point, or the main point is something else. But then what Prabhupada would always do is bring them back to that point. He wouldn't let them just say, well, okay, that's interesting, but there's another point. He would stay on that point. So if you miss one point, if there's a mistake in your calculation, regardless of what you add or subtract after that, the mistake is already in the calculation, and everything that follows will also be faulty. So we cannot simply accept that part of Scripture we like and reject what we don't like. Yeah. Prabhupada gives the example, the half hen logic. The hen lays eggs with its back part and eats with its front part, the beak. The farmer may think, the front part of the hen is very expensive because I have to feed it. Better to cut it off. But if the front part is missing, then there will be no eggs anymore. Yes, so similarly, if we reject the difficult part of the Scriptures and obey the part we like, such an interpretation will not help. So if you do not follow the first order, thou shalt not kill, then where is the question of love of God? The visitor says, Christians take this commandment to be applicable to human beings and not to animals. Prabhupada, that would mean that Christ was not intelligent enough to use the right word. Murder. There's killing and there's murder. Murder refers to human beings. Do you think Jesus was not intelligent enough to use the right word? Actually, because there's one book we have, like a booklet. Do you mean it says that in the Bible? And it goes through different statements and goes back to the original language. So where it says thou shalt not kill, they use I think either Greek or Aramaic, and it's just the general word which means kill. It's not the word murder, it just means kill. Do not kill. Thou shalt not kill. Yeah. Okay. Anyway. So the Father Emmanuel says, isn't the eating of plants also killing? Prabhupada says Vaishnava philosophy teaches us we should not even kill plants unnecessarily. We have to offer to Krishna the food. Or we have to offer Krishna only the food he demands, then eat the remnants. If offering vegetarian food to Krishna was sinful, then it would be Krishna's sin, but not ours. If someone offers me with love and devotion a leaf, flower, fruit, or water, I'll accept it. So, yes. Prabhupada one time in Bhaktivedanta Manna, a devotee asked him, when we walk on grass, does it hurt the grass? Prabhupada said, yes, it hurts the grass. And then Prabhupada said, so you should only walk on the grass if you're walking for Krishna in the course of service to Krishna. Otherwise, it's a type of violence. Yes. If Prabhupada says, if you simply chant the name of God found in your own scriptures, you will attain the spiritual platform. Human life is meant for self-realization, to learn how to love God. That is the actual duty of man. Whether you discharge this duty as a Hindu, a Christian, or a Mohammedan, it doesn't matter, but discharge it. Father Emmanuel says, I agree. Yes. All right, so anyway, now there's a section, section here, second section. Christ, Christians, and Krishna. So Prabhupada says, a pure devotee of the Lord is unhappy to see the suffering of others. Therefore Christ agreed to be crucified to free others from their suffering. But his followers are so unfaithful that they have decided, let Christ suffer for us and we will go on committing sin. They love Christ so much, so little actually, that they think, my dear Christ, we're very weak. We can't give up our sinful activities, so you please suffer for us. It's a very heartless type of mentality. So, Bhagavatam says, any bona fide preacher of God consciousness must have the qualities of tolerance and compassion. In the character of Jesus Christ, we find both these qualities. He was so tolerant that even while he was being crucified, he didn't condemn anyone. And he was so compassionate that he prayed to God to forgive the very persons who were trying to kill him. Of course, the thing is that for a transcendental person, like when Krishna speaks to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita to convince him he should fight, whereas Arjuna was saying, oh, I don't want to hurt anyone. I don't want to kill anyone. It's just not nice at all. But Krishna made the point that when someone dies, it's just the body. The person never dies, because the person, the eternal soul, is eternal. So Christ, assuming, we don't know much about Christ really, but if we just sort of theoretically, for the sake of argument, accept that he was a great spiritual person, then a great spiritual person, if something happens and they die, it's not a big deal. Just like Narada Muni. Narada Muni was confronted by Valmiki, who in the end wrote Ramayana, but before that, you know the history of Valmiki. He was a murderer, robber. Yeah, he would stop people in the forest and with a knife, money or your life. And if they wouldn't give their money, he'd just kill them. So he stopped Narada Muni one day, and he said, okay, money or your knife, or your life, with his knife. And Narada Muni said, well, I don't actually have any money, and I'm not this body, so if you kill this body, it doesn't really matter, so you decide. He told him, you decide. And Valmiki said, no, look, you obviously don't take me seriously, but no, I'm going to use this knife on you right now if you don't give me your money. And Narada told him, I'm serious too. I have no money. And if you kill me, it doesn't really matter because I'm not this body. You can only kill the body. So you decide. And Valmiki was astonished. Narada, he was really strong. So Valmiki said, how is it that you feel like this? So Narada preached to him a little bit. And then Valmiki, Narada preached to him that you've been killing people. You're going to get such reactions, such karmic reactions. Oh, it's going to be just completely incredible, the reactions you're going to get. And Valmiki said, I only do it for my wife and children, so they have to accept some of the reactions. And Narada said, go and ask them. Ask them if they'll accept some of the reactions. So Valmiki did. He asked his wife, I've robbed people, I've even killed people to get money to maintain you and the children. And now I've just found out there are all these sinful reactions, karmic reactions, and, which are bad. But the thing is, I did it for you. So, will you please accept some of the reactions? And his wife said, forget it. It's your duty as the husband, as the father, to maintain us. You can do it in this way or that way or some way. That's up to you. So if you decide to do it by robbing people and killing people, you're responsible for your decision. And Valmiki understood, I'm in big trouble. I'm going to get such karmic reactions. It's going to, some astronomical karmic reactions. So he became very anxious. And he asked Narada, what can I do to get out of these reactions? And Narada told him, you must chant a name of God. So chant Krishna. He told him, chant Krishna. He couldn't chant because his mind was just so polluted and messed up through the serious, vicious activity. He couldn't chant a name of God. So then Narada, being very clever, gave him the mantra Mara. You know the story, Mara. So he was chanting. So Valmiki said, yeah, I can chant that because Mara means death. So he's chanting Mara, 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 and feeling good about it. Death, death, death. But the thing is, Mara is Rama around the other way. So in the end, as he started becoming purified, instead of Mara, 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 it started becoming Rama, Rama, Rama. And then he just got really into it. And he chanted and chanted. And while he was chanting, he realized the whole Ramayana. Then he wrote down the whole Ramayana while he was chanting.
Today's it's still 18.
Huh?
Today the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
Ayodhya.
In Ayodhya? I thought it was the 22nd.
22nd.
Okay.
But there's all sorts of things going on.
Yes.
Yeah. Since I read today maybe,
Yes.
since the 16th or the 6th
Yeah.
or...
Because the Prabhu was giving the class session for the Go Puja stuff. The Go Seva. He was at the Yodhi and there was so much of noise.
Yeah.
He's saying Lokanath Swami is busy giving kirtan. So that's why it's more compounded.
Yes, okay, so Prabhupada says, Jesus Christ taught, thou shalt not kill. But his followers have now decided, let us kill anyway. So they open big modern scientific slaughterhouses. If there's any sin, Christ will suffer for us. This is a most abominable conclusion. Yeah. Christ can take the sufferings for the previous sins of his devotees, but first they have to be sane. Why should I put Jesus Christ into suffering for my sins? Let me stop my sinful activities. Suppose a man, the favorite son of his father, commits a murder, and suppose he thinks, if there's any punishment coming, my father can suffer for me. Yeah. Will the law allow that? When the murderer is arrested and says, no, you can release me and arrest my father. I'm his pet son. Will the police officials comply with that fool's request? He committed the murder, but he thinks his father should suffer the punishment. Is that a sane proposal? No. You have committed the murder. You must be hanged. Similarly, when you commit sinful activities, you must suffer, not Jesus Christ. This is God's law. Yes, okay. Let me just move on. We've only got 10 minutes. 29?
Yes.
29. Not very many. Practicing yoga in the age of quarrel. Practicing yoga in the age of quarrel. Okay. So the first part is superconsciousness. The supersoul being present within everyone, situated everywhere, is conscious of every existence.
39.
Huh?
39.
39. Oh. So the supersoul being present within everyone, situated everywhere, is conscious of every existence. The theory that the soul and the supersoul is one is not acceptable because the individual soul's consciousness cannot act in superconsciousness. The superconsciousness can only be achieved by dovetailing individual consciousness with the superconsciousness. And this dovetailing process is called surrender or Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada's explained Krishna consciousness is the highest yoga performance. But the standard yoga practice, physical exercises and so on, as recommended by Patanjali, if you've heard of Patanjali, he was like the old acharya of that physical yoga. That's different from the nowadays practiced hatha yoga, as is generally understood in the Western countries. Real yoga practice means to control the senses. And after such control is established, to concentrate the mind on the Narayan form of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. Okay. So you know what? I think we'll finish here for today, and we'll carry on tomorrow.
Yes, 46 Ramala. Tell them about the japa session. They might stay on.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So devotees, we are now going to chant japa for a while. Stay with us and chant with us. Yeah,
That is 46.
46. Good.
To change the subtitles.
Okay.
Two and a half hours.
Sorry?
But from 29 to 46 in that last couple, I think when you started with about Jesus Christ and passing on, the Father will take the sins.
Right.
From 29 to 46.